Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. This is Deb Lutz, also known as D-Lux, and I am here to bring you this 3-game playoff slate, end of the week here, and we're well into the playoffs. We had some winners last night, and that was super exciting. I love seeing those winners during playoff time. We definitely tend to beat the field and have a lot of fun doing it. So keep posting those winners. We're hoping we'll have some more tonight. Have a nice little 3-game slate with a couple of teams that are looking to get their first win, so it makes them extra hungry. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks for joining us. We've got some folks who have joined us early. Of course, Stacks, showing up an hour and a half ahead of time. I love it. I'm curious, Stacks, do you stay an hour and a half after the stream also? Or are you just on all the time? But thanks for joining. We appreciate the support. And thank you to Nathan Feudy as well for being number 2 into the chat. Good to see you, man. And my favorite DD, David Dulac, always a pleasure. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. If I can get my things rolling. I actually I'm traveling this week, so I'm doing this from a friend's house. Never quite know what the setup's going to be like, but I was doing all my studying sitting back in a nice little massage chair. So that was kind of fun. So hopefully it gave me a little extra blood flow, and it's going to make these picks extra good. Anyway, I hope you guys have had a good week and are looking forward to the weekend. We got some good games ahead of us this weekend. It's a good sports weekend. And we're going to kick things off with Friday night. And the first game, we can pull it up right here. First game that we've got is one of those games that I referred to where you've got a team that's desperate for a win, and that's Atlanta facing Boston. And it's a 28.5 point under over and a 5.5 point spread. So decently healthy line. It's actually the highest of the night. We've got some scorers for sure. And I think this is going to be a night for me where I'm going to go with Trae Young. I think he's due. He has not played well at all in this series. He's played decently well against Boston throughout the season. So this has been particularly rough run for him. And I just think at home in front of the crowd, they don't want to look bad. They got to pull off one game here. And I think this is it. I think, Boston's feeling pretty good. They're not going to play, they're not going to be playing quite as hard as the Hawks. And everybody's healthy. So I see this being a smash spot for Trae Young. I think he says, I gotta change things up a bit. I gotta get things done. He's going to throw the ball up a lot. He'll hit some of his threes. He'll get a lot of assists. And I think the usage is going to be through the roof. So I'm going Trae Young tonight. I'm not doing too much else on Atlanta, really. I think he's going to have all the usage. The only other guy I'm looking at on Atlanta solidly is Okongwu. I think he plays some nice minutes off the bench. His first game wasn't so great, and so his ownership was low for the second game, and he did his usual stuff with the second team. And I think in this case, I think I envision the same thing happening. And he's super low priced on DraftKings, which is where I'm most excited to get him. He's only $4,100. Really not doing much else and not a lot at all of Hunter Collins. It's more just a fill-in because they're some of the least expensive value out there. On the other side of things, some of these guys are starting to get really expensive. Derek White, I mean, it's unbelievable. He's like a full $2,000 more expensive than he was during the season, and certainly during last year's playoffs. Deservedly so. He's been playing great, playing a ton of minutes. I am not going to go to him tonight. It's just gotten a little bit too rich, and might be a night where Murray cracks down on defense a little bit. and holds back Derek White. So I'm not going to go there. I kind of like Brogdon. He's definitely now he's more at risk for minutes. He'll only play somewhere between 22 and 26 minutes. But I love his points per minute. I think up against the second team, I think it's a better spot for him. And his price point is nice as well. So I'm looking at Brogdon. I like Tatum. I mean, he is expensive, but and when you compare him to some of the other higher price guys, I like him on a points per dollar basis better than Jokic tonight. I like him better than Garland Mitchell as well. Not necessarily better than Trae Young, not necessarily better than someone like a Brunson, but he's a lot less expensive, and not really better than an Edwards. But if you're in that price range versus some of the top guys, I like Tatum tonight. And I am going to be fading. Let's see. I mentioned I'm going to be fading White. I'm probably fading Murray as well. I see Rodney Pollard. How you doing? Great to have you with us. Yeah, he's had 2 50-point games. I know, and I think that's where people are going to go. They're thinking it's going to happen again, but I think it gets switched up tonight, and I think Trey's going to hang on to the ball a lot more, and I think they're going to figure out how to get more out of Trae Young tonight. So I am not going to be playing Murray, although not, certainly not crazy, because he's been proving himself, and I love him as a player. So, so that's it. I'll be pretty balanced tonight across the 3 games. Not really going crazy on anyone, but I think there's a good smattering of players to go after here as well. The other guy who's really inexpensive is Robert Williams. I mean, he's like 4,500 on DraftKings, and the guy can be a tremendous fantasy point per minute player when you start to look at the stocks that he can get. Hasn't really happened yet, and certainly not in this series, but certainly somebody that you can put in your lineup pretty easily. So, all right, with the first game under our belts here, let's see who's here. Let's see who's in the chat. Besides Rodney Pollard, we've got Boy from Cali. Yeah, Boy from Cali was one of our big winners last night. Love seeing that. And Bev is with us. Thanks for joining, Bev. I love how you always join on Tuesdays and Fridays. It's great to see you. And Doug L. Yeah, Doug is like the man behind our MLB now, joining forces with Crash. So thanks for doing that, Doug. It's great. Let's keep rolling. Absolutely. Let's see who else we got here. Trying to win 50 cents. David Dulak's been on a roll. He's been winning some big money. So excited to see that. He's figuring out the DFS system and doing well with it. Nathan is asking, who would you play in all 3 of the games tonight at captain? Boy, that's a tough one. I have not really looked that into it. To tell you specifically, but some of the best value guys across these 3 games. I like somebody like that's tough. I usually don't like going with the highest price guy. I think someone like a Conley is really solid in the night game. Ooh, that is a really good question, because I haven't built my lineups to look at that. So I got to be honest. I don't want to speak out of turn without having looked at it to answer that question. But those of you in the chat who play single games, take a look and let Nathan know if you have any ideas. All right. So Nathan's asking, what about Bay? I'm just not sure he's going to get the minutes. He does play pretty well against Boston. I like his game versus Boston, but Bogdanovich has been getting a little bit more time off the bench, and just not really sure. I think they're going to stay more with starter minutes, just because they need to. They really need to win tonight, so I don't think they're going to get to their bench as much. Absolute Power joining as well. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you on this beautiful Friday. Kirk. Doug. Who is Kirk? I don't even know. All right. I think that's it in the chat. Okay, so let's make our way to the second game of the night, and it is the high scoring Cleveland Cavaliers at the New York Knicks. 211.5 is the over under, and it's a 1.5 point spread. So the good news is it's projected to be close, right? So what that means is you're going to be seeing a lot from your starters, particularly on New York. Thibodeau plays his guys a ton. It's in New York, must-win game for New York. They want to make sure that they get at least one of their home games here. And, true to form, I mean, the last two games were, 198 and 197 points. So it's pretty, clear what this game's going to look like. It's going to be low scoring, a lot of minutes from the starters, small benches, and, we can kind of take a look at what's been happening throughout to see where we're going to be. From a Knicks standpoint, the guy I'm fading is the guy that I'm fading is Barrett for sure. He's just, this is a tough team for him. Great defense. He's really not showing up, and I just, maybe in a GPP because he could go off, and I think he's going to be low owned, but I just don't trust him here. So I'm not going to be playing him at all. In fact, from a GPP standpoint, I kind of like Julius Randle. He has not performed very well since he's been back. And again, this is a bit of a tough defensive assignment for him, but he is the kind of guy who has a really high ceiling, and I think he's a little sneaky at 8K on FanDuel and 8,200 on DK. So he's about 10% owned, which is pretty low for some of the stars. So I'm looking at him in a GPP. And then Brunson is the guy that I'm looking at for cash lineup. I think he's got an extremely high ceiling and a fairly high floor. And like I said, Thibodeau's got to play these guys a ton. They're going all out. So I see from a points per minute standpoint, I think that really works in Brunson's favor. Not going to go for a Grimes. Robinson's playing terrible. And again, tough matchup for him. The only other guy that I'm going to consider on, New York is Hart. He had an awesome first game, and everyone jumped on the bandwagon, and he had a crappy second game. So I think he comes back this game. I know he was a little bit injured, but I think he comes back playing against the second team. I think he's really got to bolster both the offense and the defense. So I like him for about 26 or so fantasy points. Over on the Cleveland side, boy, tough to pick out if it's going to be Garland or Mitchell. First game was Mitchell, second game Garland, and I actually was I picked it right both times, which was great. This time I'm not so sure. I may not take either, actually. I think I feel better about the front court. Although, Jared Allen, who was a lot less pricey than Mobley, is now more expensive than Mobley. So that's kind of interesting as well. I'm actually going to go pretty light on this side. I think they're fairly priced. And again, in a grind out game, I don't think that there's a lot of room for smashing as these prices have come up. Mobley, he's 7,100. I'm projecting him for 35. Allen, about the same. Mitchell is maybe the one guy who could really smash, and end up with 60 points or so. But he's getting up there I think he's 10K, over 10K. So again, probably in a Mitchell versus Tatum scenario, I'm probably going with Tatum, and I think he's only about $500 or $600 more. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about this game. How about you guys? Let's see what everyone's saying. Barrett just called. He's upset that I'm fading him. Yeah, exactly. That was it. It was his agent calling, actually saying, "How are you talking smack about my boy?" Yeah, Karis LeVert, actually. Glad you mentioned him, Absolute Power. That's the other guy. That is the only guy that I'm looking at really seriously on Cleveland. Good value play. Again, bit of a crapshoot because a lot of times when he plays second team, he doesn't get the minutes or the usage. But they went away from Okoro pretty quickly. I think he played like 2 minutes. I don't know if he was injured. But as a result, he Levert played some extra minutes and played great. So hopefully, uh, coach sees that and says, "Hey, Bickerstaff says, hey, let's keep Levert in because it worked the last time. We need that offense." So he's definitely somebody that I am eyeing again from a value standpoint. Absolute Power is also talking about a Congo as value, which is what I mentioned the first game. Totally agree. Hartenstein, yeah. I mean, he's getting, again, Robinson's not been playing great. Hartenstein's going to get minutes because you've got such a big front court for Cleveland. He's forecasted at 21. And let's see what he has played the last 2 games. I took a look at him. I like a Kongu better. And I also like Robert Williams better. So he, 21 points, 21 fantasy points in 27 minutes. The game before that, it was 22 minutes and 14 fantasy points. So, again, he's kind of on the cusp, but tough to trust him as much as the other guys that I mentioned. All right. So Boy from Cali has given Nathan the advice, Hunter as captain, and then Levert and Gobert. Okay, interesting. I do like Levert as captain. Hunter's been playing pretty decently. The other guy you could go for who's real inexpensive is Collins. Like I mentioned, he's the other guy I might do a little bit of, although he's such a bum. And Gobert, I don't love Gobert. From that game, I like, I don't know. I think Anderson would be a really interesting guy at that game because he's pretty fairly inexpensive. And so you could really build around him. I definitely think you want to have Edwards in your lineup tonight and Conley. The guy that I'm fading is probably Towns. I think he just has a tough time against Aaron Gordon, who's a pretty athletic 4. All right, so let's see what we got with the third game. Okay, I'm just going to check and make sure that that's all we talked about. Yep. Okay, so Denver at Minnesota. It's a 222.5 over under. Denver is favored by 2, despite being away. But it's pretty close. So again, this is going to be a really good tight game. Jokic he's still questionable, although actually I think he was just upgraded to probable. So I think it's likely that he's going to play. Gobert is still questionable, as is Jalen Noel. I expect them both to play. In terms of Denver's won pretty handily both games, and the stars actually the star in my mind has really been Jamal Murray. He is just smashed, he's sort of the forgotten guy because he was injured a lot during the season. But you recall years ago, I mean, he was the guy in the playoffs as well. He just really brings it in the playoffs. I love his game. I'm looking at him real seriously, although I kind of like Brunson a little bit better tonight. Again, I think, Minnesota, I'm not sure that they actually win tonight, but they got to come out and fight super hard. Down 2-0. They're in Minnesota for one more game. This is the one they got to win. I don't think they do it. I really just think that Denver is too qualified of a team for them. But, I think they're going to lock down Denver a little bit more. And so I'm really not going for a lot of guys from the Denver side. The Joker is really expensive, and if he is a little bit injured and they're up 2-0, I think he doesn't go all out. Last night he almost had a triple double, or last game he almost had a triple double, and it was still less than 50 fantasy points. So at his pricing, that's just not going to pay out. So I'm not going to go there. And like I said, with Murray, the challenge that I have is there's a ton of point guards who I absolutely love. I love Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, Mike Conley, and Jamal Murray. So I can't take all of them. Probably, depending on, and none of them qualify for shooting guard, I don't believe either. Certainly not on DraftKings. And so at most I can get 3. And I probably, just in terms of price value, I'd probably put Murray as the 4th guy. So I'm not going to get a lot of him, but if you like him, I think he's going to have another great game. Caldwell Pope is inexpensive. So somebody, again, from a value standpoint, he's not the best points per minute guy. Porter had a great first game. His second game was a little bit less exciting. He's an okay guy to get in. I kind of like him more as a GPP play. The only other guy on Denver, so another GPP play for me is Jeff Green. So he's going to get the backup minutes. If Joker's not feeling great, if Denver has a huge lead, he's going to get the minutes. Another not so great fantasy point per minute guy. But he's the guy who's going to get the backup center minutes, not DeAndre Jordan, not Thomas Bryant, not Zeke Naji. So, I'm forecasting him to be somewhere in the 20 to 25 minute range. And I think at the price that he's at, you could get 19, 20 points out of him. So he's somebody that I am eyeing a bit for GPP, particularly on FanDuel, because he's 3,800 and you just really can't touch that value down there. On the Minnesota side, as I mentioned, I do like Conley a lot. I also like Edwards a lot. I think his usage, in order for them to win, he's got to get 50 fantasy points. Otherwise they're toast. So the ball is going to be in his hands. The usage is going to be there. It was there the last game. They didn't quite put it all together. And the reason they didn't put it all together is really because, Karl Anthony Towns did not come to play. And I'm not sure he does again. I think it's really tough defense. I think his shot's not going to be as effective. And with Gobert in there, he's not going to be rebounding as much. When he came back, don't forget, Gobert was not in a lot of those games, and that got him some fantasy points. But I don't see him kind of, hitting more than 38 to 40 fantasy points and not necessarily hitting value. So boy from Cali likes Gobert. Maybe, I don't know. He still seems to be a little bit dinged up. Maybe he's also emotionally dinged up from what happened, but I think he's somewhere in that, 35 fantasy point range. And what is he? Let's see what his pricing is. Let's see what he's priced at. There are also a lot of decent centers tonight, so it's a little bit tough. But on FanDuel 7,400. So I think that's a fair price. Again, I don't really see him getting much over 35 or so. So that's like a 5 times. It's okay. And then for DK, 6,600 I think is a better price. 6,600. I like him on DK for sure, and I definitely like him better than Cat. All right. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's it. Let's see. Gobert, Anderson on FanDuel 5,800. I think that's a really nice price. I think they've got to get him a little bit more involved. He has taken a little bit of a back seat since Cat's been in, with Cat and Gobert. But if he comes off the bench, he has a chance to really light it up with the second team. So I do like him in this game at that price. Let's see. Bev says, who is your pay up stud? Okay. Let's see here. Bev, you want that for FanDuel or DraftKings? Let's see. start with DraftKings. I think it's going to be, I mean, if I had to go with one guy who it's going to be, I really think it's Trae Young. I just think he's got to go nuts tonight. And I'm really hoping, I mean, it's a really tough matchup, but I just think that he's got a chip on his shoulder. He knows he needs to win. He's got to take that team on his shoulder. So I like him a lot. I think this price, I mean, on DK 8,400 is tremendous. I don't think he's been that price all year. And 9,100 on FanDuel is not bad either. So across the board, I think my money's on Trae being the best stud tonight in terms of exceeding value. All right. Anyone else? Absolute Power likes Murray over Trae. Yeah. I mean, look, Murray's been doing it, right? I mean, Murray, in the last two games, 47 and 53, he absolutely has been smashing it, and he's better value too. Certainly. I just, I think, is he going to get that third game in a row? Maybe not. I think that they have to lock in on him a little bit more defensively. I think Conley's up to the task. Maybe they switch it up a little bit from a defensive standpoint, who they have on him. But I think he'll take a little bit of a step back. I still think he'll be great. I still think you're probably talking 40 plus, but I just don't think he's going to quite get to that top number. Cool. Boy from Cali agrees with me. Hey, we don't always agree, so this is big. I like it. And John wants my phone number. Wow. I mean, I'm honored, John. I have no idea who you are, but so no, I'm not going to give you my phone number. But you can message me on Discord. Anyway, with that, anyone have any other thoughts, comments, any other information? Boy from Cali, thank you very much for posting night after night. The projection information will all be on the Discord channel. And anyway, and other than that, let's win big tonight, guys. I think I'm going to put a few extra dollars in there tonight. I'm feeling pretty good, and we'll keep the streak going and have some fun. And I will be posting Yahoo, FanDuel, and DK. And Doug's telling me I'm blushing. Oh man, you got me. So that's the problem with being on camera. Anyway, so let's get the weekend started right, and have a great evening, and wishing you guys all kinds of luck. And we'll see you tomorrow as we look to crush it in NBA DFS.